Hello and welcome back to my channel. Thank you for stopping by. If it's your first time here, my name's Amanda and I am a mixed media artist. I have had a few busy weeks at work and I have been zapped of energy every night, but thankfully that project is coming to an end, and to celebrate, today we are going to do some fun art because that's my jam and that's exactly what I need right now. It's Nutcracker time. These guys are everywhere at the moment, in every shape and size. In every shop I go in, there are armies of them. I must admit, I have a soap dispenser shaped like one for the Christmas period, but only because I liked his face. So, sometimes they can look a bit freaky with their harsh faces. But I have found a way to get around that. Today we are drawing a teddy bear Nutcracker. Yes, that's more my kind of Nutcracker. A cute fluffy Ted dressed up in a smart Nutcracker uniform. If you are thinking about giving this a go too, they are so easy to draw as they're basically full of shapes. Circles, squares, straight lines. They're pretty easy to draw. I got my references from Unsplash. The drawing bit was the easy bit. The harder bit is for me to figure out what colour scheme I want to do. I'm going to use my gouache paints by Winsor Newton for sure, as I haven't used them for a while. I have made swatch cards of all my Winsor Newton gouache paints, and before painting I like to lay them out like I have done to see if I can put together a colour scheme. One of my Instagram friends started to store her paints in a lipstick holder, which I thought was brilliant, as I can see where all the colours are without having to rummage through my tin. And of course I can store them on show, which will encourage me to actually use them and not forget I have them. I must say that I absolutely love painting with the gold Winsor & Newton gouache paints. This is so beautiful and goes down so thick and opaque. I think it's the best gold I've used. I started to paint with gouache from June 2023 as my husband bought me the Winsor & Newton designer gouache introduction set for my birthday. Instagram and YouTube was flooded with all kinds of brands, and these looked like the better option for me as I already liked and trusted the Winsor & Newton brand, and I didn't really like the look of the gouache in the jelly pots. As you have to be really careful how you store them and they tend to dry out, and before you can paint you have to take time to reactivate them with water. It just seems like a lot of prep work and I'm lazy. But of course I could be wrong. Let me know in the comments what your favourite gouache paints are and what you would recommend me to use. I do love Winsor & Newton, but I'm very open to try new things. Plus I have my eye on the Caran d'Ache, the pan gouache set, which I think would be really good for painting in my sketchbook. As you can see, I've already started by painting Ted's head first with a layer of yellow ochre and then darkening the edges with sepia. I've squeezed a blob of permanent white also so I can do some mixing. Of course the eyes have to go in next, which I am using my Copic Multiliner pen as they are great for small details. Make sure you leave a shine in the eye so he looks happy. Using a mix of permanent white and yellow ochre, I am painting the area around his nose and mouth, then adding a few drops of darker tone to create shape. And then I lifted the paint from the top of his nose just to show where the light is hitting. The two main colours I chose for Ted's uniform was Alizarin Crimson, I always say that wrong, a gorgeous deep red which I thought would be a nice Christmassy colour and reminds me of the seasonal flower poinsettias. Also, I chose Prussian Blue, which is one of my favourite blues, another deep and rich colour. Both these colours are giving me royalty vibes, and they are both quite popular Christmas decoration colours. The hardest part for me was to decide the main focus colour, so in come the swatches again, and I eventually went with Alizarin Crimson for Ted's hat and jacket. I tend to use gouache like watercolour. Maybe it's just habit, but I like to build up the layers, which I know kind of defeats the beauty of gouache, but hey, each to their own. What I love about gouache is that it's so pigmented, the colours are so vibrant so quickly, and dries matte, which I like the look of. The downside to gouache is that it dries too quickly and slightly changes colour as it dries. I would like to try acrylic gouache at some point, as I like the idea of when it dries it's unmovable and you can layer on top. Maybe in the future I can look into that. Again, please let me know in the comments if you have tried acrylic gouache and if it's worth me giving it a go and what brands you would recommend. I have just noticed that Ted's legs were out of shot, so you didn't catch me painting them in the Prussian Blue, but as you can see I have made the size of his legs darker than the middle to make his legs look more rounder. I'm also going to use the blue for the jacket embellishments and also the hat band. And for the tassels on the shoulder pads, I am using a permanent yellow deep, as it will go nicely with the gold I will add on later. Now mixing a grey with permanent white and ivory black for the jacket cuffs. I will come back to you once I have painted in Ted's cap, belt and boots. One thing that was bothering me was the lack of Christmas references in the painting so far, so I decided to add holly and berry decoration to his hat, which I then coloured in with my Faber-Castell watercolour pencils. And now for his cute little button nose and mouth, using a bit of dark sepia and obviously using a smaller paintbrush for finer details. I often forget I have a million paintbrush sizes and end up only using one brush throughout. But I guess if your round paintbrush has a fine point, you can easily do smaller details, but using a smaller brush is obviously easier, of course. I like to make things harder for myself, I don't know why. Now for the fun bit, add in some gorgeous golden touches. Again, I can't rave about this gold enough. It's so pigmented and so easy to work with. And I think if you're going to use gold, there is no time for subtle. And if you want a gold that packs a punch, this is for you. Of course, you can water it down to whatever thickness you want, but for Ted's golden embellishments on his jacket and hat, I want the paint to be nice and opaque. I did paint Ted with a sword, but as you know, they come holding all different things, so you could change this to whatever you wanted. Okay, now for the background. I wanted it to be simple but festive, so I have a string of fairy lights making a pattern behind Ted. Using my Winsor Newton watercolour, I painted very diluted circles around the bulbs, which will look like halos of light coming from the bulbs itself. To save time, I dried the paint with my small hairdryer so I could go back in with my fine liner for the smaller details. I also added a string of red and blue fairy lights to make it a bit more festive. I've realised now that it's finished that I didn't mention what paper I'm using. Probably the most important thing, but you probably saw at the beginning I am using Archer's Watercolour block, which is 300 GSM. I absolutely love this paper. It's pricey, but my goodness, it's worth its weight in gold, especially when you use it for watercolour. You remove the sheet after you have finished the painting by very carefully breaking the glue sealed edges. And here he is, Ted, all suited and booted, ready for action. And I hope you like him. Let me know what you think of him in the comments, and let me know if there's anything you would like me to draw or paint in the future. I absolutely love getting feedback and inspiration from my subscribers. And speaking of inspiration, I will be posting my list of art prompts tomorrow for my Christmas art challenge, which I've set for myself for December, called Ink and Wish. Just in case anybody would be interested to join me with some of the art prompts, regardless if you do or you don't, I hope that they give you some inspiration on the run up to Christmas. Thank you so much for watching and keeping me company. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you haven't yet, please subscribe to my channel so you don't miss out on any future content. I really appreciate all my subscribers, and thank you so much for your support.